Howdy folks, good afternoon. Here is my fifth and most likely my last video for today. So I'm going down Eagle Trail a little more, and then I noticed to my left that we've actually got something called, right here, see this? This is something called a hog plum. Now, this plant has been known to actually look very similar to that of the southern live oak. But here's a difference. The hog's plum actually instead produces a leaf that has more of a lighter green color. Unlike southern live oak, for example, like to my right, for instance, they produce more of the dark green, and they're a bit more sandpapery, bit of a harder texture, whereas these feel a bit softer on the hands. And you can actually see, usually early fall, they produce these, they produce these plums right here. And they're actually a valuable resource for wildlife, especially when it comes to food. Now, with that being said, another difference to look for with the hog's plum is, as you notice, it grows mostly directly upright. And that's because it's trying to find as much sunlight as it can. Whereas a live oak, on the other hand, it tends to sprawl out a bit more, as I've mentioned before. Now, hog's plum, here's a thing that they do. In a sense, they kind of act like a parasite to the southern live oak, even though it is indeed native. So, here's something to know. Hog's plum, so this is all happening underground, by the way, so we can't directly see it. But what the hog's plum does is they produce these projections that are called Haustoria. Now, what these Haustoria do is they tunnel through the roots, the extensive roots of the southern live oak, and they'll find a way to basically attach to the root and penetrate. Thus, the hog's plum will actually use the sugars produced by the tree and will use those sugars as a food source. So, unfortunately, it doesn't really produce its own sugar. It actually uses the sugar from a live oak, hence making it a parasite, even though they are native. So it's actually quite surprising what this plant does. But oftentimes, too, when you look at the bark, it's a bit more of like a beige appearance, whereas a live oak, on the other hand, has more of that dark brown appearance. But yeah, it actually, hold on a second. Oh wait, okay, never mind. I thought I saw something that I wanted to point out, but no, it's also part of the hog's plum. But that's a piece on the hog's plum. I know I feel like I keep repeating the name of the plant, but that's what it does. So it's actually quite neat. And by the way, Check actually provides these QR codes that you can scan with your phone. It really enables you to basically interact with where it is you're exploring. So it helps visitors have an opportunity, and even myself, to learn more about the native vegetation that is around here. So there's actually a little spot that I want to show you guys real quick. Give me just a second. Alrighty, mates. You know, actually about a month ago, I did a video at this same exact spot. So I'm actually going to keep this little bit shorter for you guys. So right up here is an example of a salt marsh. So of course, what happens is water levels tend to fluctuate in this given environment depending on how much rain there is, for example. So given that it is the dry season, there is going to be a little less water in the marsh. Now, mentioning that, since there are so many fluctuations, it can attract a variety of wildlife, whether it be from marine systems or even freshwater systems too. So it's bound to be that you'll find fiddler crabs and even mangrove crabs, just to name a couple of examples. But usually, a lot of these plants that are found in a salt marsh are salt tolerant. So they're capable of handling that type of water. And actually here gives you a little more of an overview of what's going on. But since it's so productive, oftentimes a lot of detritus, which is decaying material, makes its way here. And so, with that being said, the soil here is actually very fertile for any future growth. For example, it's very fertile for black needle rush to grow. And they call it needle rush given the fact that when you touch the tip here, it is very sharp. Feels like a needle. So it's really not advised to walk through here, unless if you have protective clothing. Otherwise, it's quite of a painful experience. Not worth it. But a marsh really defines a given landmass that has high productivity, containing water, that is mostly filled with non-woody and herbaceous plants. So you could say it gets plenty of sunlight here. And what's actually cool right here, this is actually a camera that Czech uses. What they do is they actually film for any wildlife that comes through here during the nighttime. They've actually been able to find all kinds of stuff, whether it be 9-banded armadillos, bobcats, raccoons, so mostly mammals. So it's quite neat to see what can happen at a given preserve during the nighttime when the humans are not present. So check out my video actually along my playlist, whether it be on Facebook or YouTube, where I did a video here that was actually a bit more in depth. So, alright you guys, thank you all for watching. Crazy to think I've done 5 videos today. That doesn't really happen too often. So, it's just been a rich learning experience even for me today. So alright you guys, hope all of you enjoy your Sunday, and once again, Journey on a Journey is outwards. Take care folks, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Alright, see ya.